Welcome back to Vegas for our second restart, for our first restart, proper restart with a resurrected grid with the addition of Shane, who starts from P13 having missed qualifying. Defi leads from Niels, from SJ, from Intense, from Leon. Before the restart, we saw Intense leading from Defi for a short period before managing to retake the lead on the second red flag restart. Of course, as you can probably tell from the number of laps that we have ahead of us, we can see that we are running a 50% race. As before, there's been some spirited debate in the Discord about what race distance we should be doing. But we've had to basically consult the rules and see what's best for us, and we've agreed on 50%. Not least because we had 3 retirements on the very first. Now, strategies for today's race. We can see a one-stop working, some starting on the medium. Oh my goodness, that was some fun. I didn't even know what that was. That was some glitching there. We'll see, this is a relatively new game. As we see the leader, Defi, starting on the soft tyre. Of course, he took pole position from Intense during qualifying, retaining that first position starting from pole in the restart. Wanting to get obviously a good start on the soft, but it may have to be a 2-stopper for him unless he can find a way to extend those tyres and retain a pace advantage. It's all going to be crucially in that first stint. Meanwhile, we see the majority of the grid, with the exceptions of Potato and Nick, starting on the medium tyre, perhaps wanting to make that one-stop work. Again, this is a relatively new track, so we're not entirely sure on its characteristics on the... Okay, some questionable tyre heating there, but yeah, decent-ish parking. Maybe need to with some sliding there. It's going to be very interesting to see how teams decide to go about their strategy, not least because we've seen that first corner is an absolute killer. Hopefully we get fewer retirements on the first lap. We had 3 before, with the McLarens at the back of the grid. Nick, obviously he had quite a good qualifying, but pretty soon got swallowed up by the field during the first stint. For the second time, we see the lights at the end of the pit lane. And it's lights out. Oh, sorry, it's lights out, and away we go. For the second time in Las Vegas, Defi gets a good start, as does SJ, who moves up into second place with some real contact going on there, I think, between the Haas of Mokro and Potato. And we've seen Topias drop back a bit, as Shane has made quite a few positions quite early on. No penalties there, fortunately. But we've seen Shane already make up 4 or 3 places in hot contention. Oh, it's the same corner as we had the retirements, but no retirements this time, although that may well be a full course caution. Is it a full course caution? It looks like a full course caution, and I can see the safety car on the map moving out. Shane just about getting away without any damage there. Same cannot be said for several of the now back markers. Bartek falling 6 places, as does Potato. Some new front wings definitely required there. We see Jamie, Topias. Oh no, Topias still has his front wing. Who's missing their front wing? Bartek missing a front wing, as is Potato. Yeah, some quite early pit stops we can expect from here. Obviously, losing front wing is not ideal. It's going to increase the deg on your tyres. Of course, we're also dealing with the tyre deg bug at the moment, and we've got an early safety car. These are becoming increasingly, they're always a common occurrence in league racing online. Oh, and there's a 3-second time penalty already for Defi. That's not what he wanted, but we are under caution, but that doesn't mean that track limits are off, I suppose. As we see him dive into the pits quite early on, possibly to change those soft tyres. And it's another 5-second penalty for Defi. What's going on here? And is that a retirement? It's showing him as not there anymore. Defi's left the session. Not great for Defi. I'm assuming that will mean potentially a retirement. Is that internet issues or not? But the race leader now being inherited. It's Eddie, who I believe goes by Niels. Is that correct? Maybe. In any sense, we see SJ move into the lead. I'm not sure what quite happened there. SJ moves into the lead, 2 positions up from starting position. Nifty having an absolute stormer of a first lap. Why isn't... Okay, that's why. The Shane having an absolute stormer of a first lap. And is that some cars going off? This broadcast angle really isn't working for me at the moment, but Shane really moving up into the fourth position. Fourth position. I really don't think a podium is off the cards, perhaps even a race win, depending on how savvy he can be. We know he's a very pacey driver at the best of times. Let's look. So now we have a potential pace advantage for the rear of the grid. That would be the Haas of Mokro, who's overtaking under safety car, cedes the position back to Tobias. Field again starting to bunch up. Bartek now at the back of the grid, having lost his front wing at the restart. I wonder if we'll see a safety car restart this lap. Maybe, maybe not. Oh no, probably not this lap because the field hasn't fully bunched up yet. And we're just about all together. So really this race is wide open. Entirely depends on the ability for drivers to stay out of trouble. As we've seen, the restarts are often chaotic, and I think will be especially chaotic with that tight first corner in this Las Vegas track. As we begin the second lap under safety car conditions, we see Bartek. Again, Mokro changing position, diving into the pits once again. I wonder if there is some wing damage there for Mokro. Let's have a look. Stay on board. Along with Bartek, who's now retired from the session. That's both Mercedes out. Not great for the Mercedes team, who are currently sitting at the top of the Constructors' Championship in the league. Let's have a look. Is that a front wing change? That's a front wing change for Mokro. I wonder if there was perhaps some contact there between Bartek and Mokro. Not entirely clear. As we see I keep saying we see, but whatever. Niels going past the MLG sphere, past the grandstands of people. We have no idea if this is going to be how the Las Vegas track looks in real life. I presume it probably is. It's not even built yet in real life. Really cozying up to the AMG Mercedes safety car. Field very bunched up at the moment. With the Haas of Mokro now just catching up, getting into that corner of that back straight. And I would presume we would get a safety car in this lap. Okay, safety car in this lap. Reminder for those who are first time watching, I presume there won't be many of you, but the leader controls the speed of the field. No overtaking until the timing line. That means that Eddie here, or Niels, I believe, is at an advantage here as they get to choose the pace of the restart. SJ really trying to push up behind. Nifty as well. Sorry, Shane. Apologies to Shane. Really trying to push up to the Alpines, who now hold second and third position as we see an Alfa Romeo dive into the pits, and there's contact with the wall by, I'm not sure which McLaren that was, I believe it was Nick, as Nifty suffers from some understeer and gets taken by Intense. Big winners there, obviously being Intense, and the Alpines for staying out of trouble, not too bad there. question is, are the Alpines going to be fighting, or will there be some? Well, obviously, there isn't a team to give team orders, but will there be team orders at play here to stop the Alpines to maximise the points? They've been really strong, this pair, throughout the season so far. I believe they're sitting second in the constructors' championship. Let's have a look. I believe it's going to be probably a new front wing for Nick in the McLaren, who hit the wall on the pit straight there. Yeah, with the Alpines sitting in fourth, and we've got a. Oh, and have the McLarens come together? Is that damage for? Is that damage for Shane? Oh, he was having such a good restart as well. I'm sure he's going to be absolutely gutted, but we're only lap 4 into this 25 lap restart. Looks like he's okay. It's not entirely clear if there's any damage there, but unfortunately for Shane, we're in race conditions now, so he's going to be a bit of a battle to get back onto that thing. And we're seeing a flurry of fastest laps settling on Intense, as SJ and Leon both fight for the lead. Just very, very tight through there with the inside line going to SJ. It's neck and neck. They're going wheel to wheel as they go down to the DRS straight. DRS not yet enabled due to the restart on the previous lap. Who's later to brake? It's SJ diving into the lead. What an excellent move, keeping it clean on the entry, with Niels making a move back at SJ. Keeping it clean through here. This is some of the cleanest racing we've had all day. Leon being the big loser of that battle, unfortunately. And as I say that, Intense, I'm not quite sure, perhaps hitting the wall there, being forced off the track. It's not entirely clear. And there's another safety car. Shane catches a bit of debris there. I wonder if that has perhaps compromised his tyres. I would hope not. Not an ideal restart at all for Intense, who, as I said, was at one point leading the Grand Prix before the restart. Big wins, though, for the Alpines, who now run first and second position. Question is, who's going to win out? Will there be fighting between these two? What's going to happen? We have to see, but we're under a second safety car condition, which I'm sure won't be welcome for the Alpines. They're on they're on equal tyre wear, they're on equal tyre lap age. So theoretically, the tyre difference will not be too bad between them. However, we have Eddie on the same tyre behind, diving. We have the race leader SJ diving into the pits with. Is that Jamie just behind? No, that's Niels just behind. We've had a flurry of pit stops under safety car conditions. We're 5 laps in. Perhaps they just fancy something that will be a bit quicker. Which tyre to go on to the race leader, as it was? It's the hard tyres. Obviously believing that they can get those tyres to the end of the race, notwithstanding any further safety car periods. And it's a double stack for the McLarens. Of course, it wasn't really as slick as it could have been. Is that I believe a penalty? That penalty I don't think actually came up for us. Well, if it was a penalty, it's been served now. Shane, who was running so well in 4th position, and with that perhaps unseen contact with his teammate Nick, now running in last position, obviously notwithstanding retirements. Now closing up to the back of the field, onto the soft tyre goes Shane, looking probably to get a better restart ahead from the predominantly medium and hard tyre runners ahead. So, your grid. Leon on 5-lap-old medium tyres. Jamie in the Williams of 4-lap-old hard tyres. Topias in the Ferrari on 5-lap-old medium tyres. SJ and Fast Eddie, who just pitted for new hard tyres, with the rest of the grid, bar Light Pocket, having just pitted for either hard, medium or soft tyres. Obviously the back of the grid, fancying their chances for another safety car period, hoping to jump forward at the restart. Stay tuned while we wait for the safety car period to end. I've been asked to do a prediction. Based on the prediction that we can see right now, and what I know of the past drivers, I think I would rate probably 4th place downwards to get a pretty good start, given they're on newer tyres, especially the McLaren of Nifty, of Shane, apologies, and the Haas of, I believe that's Red One. I don't want to get his name wrong. If not, Mokro, based on what we can see on the soft runners. Nifty especially, we've seen how much of a wily campaigner he is, to use a Crofty phrase, not least with the 9-place jump he made at the restart, having started from the back of the grid here in Vegas. So I'm sure Topias, Jamie and Leon will be seeking to make their cars as wide as possible, but also perhaps looking to maybe work together as they get sort of subsumed by these newer tyre runners. It's always a question to see whether a 6-lap-old medium is actually quicker anymore than a 1-lap-old hard, but this is something we'll see as the safety car comes in this lap, just entering the final chicane onto the pit straight. Leon controlling the pace. Jamie pushing up, trying to anticipate when Leon starts to go. Leon with a pretty aggressive tyre warming strategy here, making sure those mediums are up to temperature. It may be harder for him on the older medium tyres to keep that temperature up, as it looks like we're about to go green as he puts his foot down, gets a good lead off from Jamie. Jamie perhaps unable to respond on the hard tyres, maybe biding his time, as it looks like a fairly neat as we see Light Pocket in the Alfa Romeo losing a front wing somewhere, not ideal. And Topias, I'm not sure what happened there, but there was a retirement. I'm sure we'll be seeing lots of that in the highlights section. Is that another safety car? It looks like the car was still moving, so it may just be okay. I'm sure the leaders at the front will not be looking for that. Shane making up a couple positions by virtue of an overtake and a... is that a safety car? Hopefully it's not a safety car. By virtue of an overtake as well as a retirement ahead of him. Oh, and that's a big spin! Shane just about holding it together. I'm not sure that's a retirement yet. Is that a retirement? Can he get the car moving? Ooh, it's not clear. It sounds like there's some revving going on there, but not much movement, maybe? Okay, and it's just a front wing end plate. Not the ideal start on those soft tyres. It looks like that's going to be a pit, perhaps. Not the race he was wanting from the back of the grid, especially when it was looking so good at one point. We have Leon with nearly a 1-second advantage over Jamie, who's under pressure now from Niels, who's just been overtaken by SJ on the newer tyres. Looking very close as we get a flurry of fastest laps, settling with Nick in the McLaren. Another caution in Sector 1 as we see Niels tumble down the order. Is that Niels, everything all right there? Not quite sure. Mokro's made some progress up the field though, heading into 4th position, as is Nick, having started from the, I believe from 3rd from the back of the remaining grid. The big slide headed around the MLG arena. It's an Alpine 1-2 thus far, 9 laps into this 25-lap race. Let's see who can hold it together, keep it on the road. And it's a 5-second time penalty for for Potato, for corner cutting. As I said, that chicane is quite difficult to get right, not least with our high-speed left-hander just beforehand. As we see just SJ holding position 7/10 or so behind their teammate in Leon, as there's been a pass for 5th place by Niels, looking to catch up their teammate. It's a Haas 4.5 at the moment. Shane now 54 seconds behind the leader already. Really not the restart they would have wanted following that contact with, I think it was Light Pocket. It's not clear. But, you know, with some pitting, maybe they're looking to get back within pit range. It's SJ with the fastest lap, now putting their teammate Leon under pressure. Just 3/10 behind. We should be getting DRS enabled fairly soon as SJ makes a pass for the lead. I wonder what that was. Was that a coordinated swapping? It's not clear. It's almost as if the Alpine of Leon is going a bit slower. Let's see what's going on. Nick putting Leon under pressure, momentarily making a pass for second place as Nick has run out of road. Just about enough space being left there. Very close indeed. But some pretty stellar driving there from both Leon and Nick. Already quite an advantage being built up here, with the top three separated by a matter of seconds, by about 4 seconds. Nick continuing to put the Alpines under pressure, or the Alpine of Leon under pressure, as SJ pulled out nearly a 2-second gap already on their teammate. On those newer hard tyres. I think Leon will be struggling for grip now against the newer tyres on the McLaren. Perhaps even more as we see the Haas's in the background beginning to fight as well. With Eddie just about pulling ahead of Mokro. As we enter begin the 11th lap, and Nick makes a pass for second place. An important step for that McLaren team, which has, had a pretty stellar recovery drive in this safety car restart. Looking towards the back of the grid, we're seeing Shane on newer soft tyres, 52 seconds behind, 52 seconds off the back of the grid, so already making a 2-second dent. The question is, after pit stops, will that be enough, especially on the soft tyres, because he's going to need to make another stop. Jamie setting the fastest lap, 25 seconds behind on the on newer medium tyres. Pretty impressive job by him, and is immediately superseded by Light Pocket with a 135 just basically a 136. Now another tyre battle going on here. Nick beginning to push forward, make a dent on SJ, who's still just outside of DRS range. Nifty superseding that fastest lap once again on the newer soft tyres. Soon we're going to be getting some DRS battles going. Well, we've already got some DRS battles going on. Looking in terms of the closest battles on the grid at the moment, I believe that would be probably the battle for the lead by Nick and SJ. The question is whether SJ can hang on long enough for those medium tyres of Nick's car to start dropping off and the hard tyres beginning to come into their own, and whether it's actually worth making that one stop work for SJ. But there's real pressure being put here. I think you can assume Nick is using full deploy here on the ERS system. On the energy recovery system, not the ERS system. Leon falls further back. 5-second penalty for Nick for speeding in the pit lane. Not what he wanted, especially for who was leading at the safety car restart. Onto the hard tyres, presumably for the rest of the race. Carrying, though, that 5-second penalty. So definitely looking to make a dent in the times. Got some pretty close battles going on at the head at the back. With Nick closing in, and we've got a caution in the first corner, which is just cleared up. 5-second time penalty for Fast Eddie for 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Not ideal at all, not what they're looking for. Question, of course, is whether Leon can push forward and make those hard tyres really work in his favour, as Shane pushes to 50 seconds behind the leader. It's probably likely, as we're seeing a battle for the lead, made it look so easy, Nick did, with DRS, probably full ERS as well, really making those medium tyres work. Another good question now is whether SJ can keep within DRS range. Not another DRS zone for another 2 corners on the back zone, and he's actually making a fight back, perhaps even using ERS saved up. just slightly pushed out, taking a tighter line. As does Nick hit the wall there? I think Nick may have hit the wall there. Heading into the DRS zone. Nick does have DRS. Will he be able to battle? Just slightly too far back, but we may get a mirror image of the previous lap, depending on if there's damage. It doesn't look like there's damage for that. McLaren may have just been a light touch. With the Haas running in 3rd place, just 5 seconds behind. There's been a pass for 7th place by, oh no, it's because Mokro's in the pits, fitting new hard tyres as well as a new front wing. As Nifty dives into the pits, presumably to change those 4-lap-old soft tyres. Does he have damage? Yeah, he has damage, unfortunately. It looks like that's a new front wing. Really not the race he was looking for today. Fastest lap currently held by Shane, who has posted a 1:35.9, as we see Nick making a challenge for the lead. Not quite close enough this time. In terms of laps on those tyres, they're equal here. But and it looks like Nick's actually coming in for a stop. I wonder if he's thinking there's going to be a safety car period, that, or he believes that the pack is spread out enough for there not to be a safety car period now. So it may just be worth getting on a set of tyres that you know are going to last. That's a really good question. Another question is whether Leon's made enough of a dent in with those newer soft tyres, with hard tyres, apologies. And it looks like it's going to be tight actually for Leon, who just comes out, who just finds Nick a couple seconds down the road, unfortunately for him. Not quite making it, although he will have warmer tyres than Nick, who has to probably spend this lap heating them up. Let's see if Nick can make a dent with warmer tyres, and if so, what he can do with them. Not really being put under pressure by Jamie too much, who's got Potato just behind him, about 2 seconds down the road. We're up to lap 14 of 25. SJ leads. Slight slide there for Potato. As we see Shane just starting his 14th lap. SJ comfortably out front, 7 seconds ahead of the Haas of Eddie. Field fairly spread out now. So the question is, who's going to be able to keep those tyres working for them the longest? Is there going to be a big drop-off for the hard tyre? We're not really sure. Again, there's the tyre wear bug in play that we're not entirely sure, in addition to penalties. So, as it currently stands, if I show in terms of leader, we've got Leon currently dropping a place with his 5-second penalty. Eddie just holding position in 2nd place with his 3-second penalty, although perhaps under threat from the McLaren Nick. Potato with a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting during the safety car period. Just cutting it quite close on the right hand side to the wall there with a 3-second time penalty. Again, holding position in 6th place. All drivers looking to hold position here because of the sort of spread out nature. Although we are beginning to see the Williams of Jamie just beginning to creep up on the Alpine of Leon. Once leading this race, not really in the best position now, but hopefully looking to score some solid points for the Alpine team. So we've seen that gap ever since Nick came out of the pit. Originally it was 2.9 seconds, but Nick slowly starting to increase the gap back to about 4 seconds. We're going to probably see some lap times begin to even out as time goes on, as the differences between the lap becomes a smaller proportion of the total tyre lap age. We're 16 laps into this 25 lap race. Shane, 19 seconds off the back, putting in fairly decent lap times on the 2-lap-old hard tyres that he changed onto. Again, the field fairly well spread out, may feel like a time trial for some of them. Question is, who blinks first, who makes the first mistake? Still very much a game of strategy as the tyres begin to go off. Just slightly deep there for SJ going into the penultimate corner on the penultimate straight. On the second DRS? Yeah, the second DRS zone going down the Las Vegas Strip. I don't know about you, I'm very excited to see how this circuit is going to end up looking in real life. Just keeping the tyres warm, SJ. They've got an 8-second healthy lead, so I think that's something they can afford to do. We don't really have weaving on the straights as a penalty in the league. Maybe we should do, but definitely not when leading this far ahead, not really posing a danger to anyone except for yourself and your own race chances. Nick making some pretty solid progress into catching the Haas of Eddie, running in second place at the moment. Nick eyeing up, he's already got a podium position potentially in the bag, thinks he would like to go one step up higher than he was before, reclaim the position he had before. Of course, things may just be a bit out of sync for SJ and for Nick. Nick obviously one pit stop ahead of SJ, who pitted early in his first safety car. We may, of course, see those hard tyres really begin to fall off at the end, which is probably what Nick is looking to capitalise on. With Nick, of course, now within that magic 3-second range, with an effective second position, which seems to keep things between the white lines from now until the end of the race. Having a very strong drive today, Nick. Once again, at the first safety car restart, was in the third to last position alongside his teammate Shane, following quite an early incident, which we didn't quite catch on camera, but I'm sure the stewards will be having a look at late into the night. Making some pretty rapid progress here, actually. 1.5 seconds. When we started watching Nick, he was nearly 2 seconds behind. We may even see a pass for the lead within the next lap. Oh. And we've seen a retirement from Shane and a safety car, which is definitely not what SJ would have wanted at this time, having just passed the pits. Not what they would have wanted, as we've seen. Is that a pit for... Is that a dive into the pits for Eddie? It's a dive into the pits for Eddie on 11-lap old hard tyres, just figuring that they may as well get on the new tyres if they're all going to be together in the coming lap. This is not what SJ would have wanted, of course, and probably not what Nick was looking for either, having ridden so far up. It's not entirely clear what happened there with Shane. Leon pitting for the soft tyres, thinking they can make them, Leon thinking he can make them last. It's a good thing we don't have unsafe releases in this game, because that would have been very, very unsafe there by the Williams pit crew. But JB just getting ahead of Leon, both on the soft tyres, so really it will be a matter of skill. Potato just behind, also on the soft tyre. Is Marco opting to stay out? Light Pocket also fitting the soft tyres. I think there is a significant advantage here to pitting for those soft tyres now. SJ practically pushing the safety car along. It's unclear what they're thinking. There's a real dilemma here. Do you lose track position? It entirely depends on how quickly those behind them are going to be catching up to the safety car. It looks like they may well lose track position. It's really difficult to know. Do they go for the gamble? Do they risk throwing away what could be fairly easy defending on 12-lap old hard tyres? It wouldn't be easy, but it is possible with making your car as wide as possible. So really this race has been thrown wide open by really an incident we didn't quite get around to seeing. So let's have a look what the race leader opts to do. It looks like the race leader is peeling off to the left into the pits. Is that true? Yep, race leader going into the pits. Probably the right decision, who knows? We shall have to see. Got probably another lap of safety car left as Nick inherits the lead on 5-lap-old hard tyres. Eddie really making a point to stay quite close behind on the 1-lap-old medium tyres, thinking they could probably retain a pace benefit towards the end of the race as the soft tyres may start to degrade. Mokro also opting to go onto the hard tyres. No, onto presumably the soft tyres. Yeah, onto the soft tyres. SJ demoted to 6th position, but a wily campaigner. Just have to keep it clean. Potato in front, with being led by Leon, being led by the Williams of Jamie, the Haas of Eddie, who's frankly driven quite a good race today, having after the restart having held position here. Let's just look at position changes. Having held position in 2nd place, Nick, having started in 10th place, made their way up to 1st. Very impressive. Everyone except for SJ looking like they've gained positions, although we all start fairly close together when it comes to a safety car restart. So we'll have to look. The race very much wide open. I believe everyone has everyone pitted? Nearly everyone bar Nick, the race leader, and Eddie in 2nd place. In fact, no, Eddie pitted as well. So everyone except for Nick has pitted. The newest pitters, of course, being SJ and Mokro in 6th and 7th place. SJ before the safety car was leading. Is there a significant pace benefit to having 1 lap not under safety car? Perhaps, but this safety car may have just come at the wrong time. Are we going to see the safety car? The safety car is coming in this lap. Once again, we have Nick leading the pack, 5-lap-old hard tyres. In the McLaren, Light Pocket retiring from the session just as we're about to get started. This 8-car field just became a 7-car field. Not ideal at all. We've had nearly 50% of the grid, but not quite 50% of the grid, as we have the remaining 6 laps of the race to go. Safety car has entered the pit lane. It's up to Nick now as he decides to go early. Can Eddie respond on the medium tyres? Not quite. He's pushing back. And it looks like a fairly clean restart from everyone. Everyone in a line. Everyone just about holding position here. No immediate benefit from the from those soft tyres. As we see, is that an attempted pass? Oh, some pressure being put there by SJ, desperate to get past the Ferrari of Potato, who's pushing them pretty wide there, but it's all kept clean through the chicane, heading onto the back fast corners. Mokro sliding all over the shop on those new soft tyres. Everyone getting pretty solid exits. It was all very, very close. Eddie desperate to get past Nick, who has a significant tyre deficit to Eddie on the 2-lap-old medium tyres. Definitely gets a better exit, better traction along the straight. Nick is going to be defending for his life along here, and doesn't look like really there's a contest here. The old tyre's not quite there. I'm sure Nick will be pushing his ERS to the max. Is that contact? It's not entirely clear. Nick on the outside line. Who's going to get a better entry into the corner? Oh, and is that contact there? It's unclear. Mokro picking up a 3-second time penalty there. And now Jamie now arriving on the scene as there's a fierce battle for the lead, and we're seeing a spin, and it's a retirement for Leon. That's gonna be absolutely gutting for him, who's had a really solid race up to this point. Who retains 2nd position there? It's unclear. They're still racing even though the safety car has been deployed. Who's giving back the position? Who has what? It looks like Jamie wins out on that front. Eddie losing a position there. Oh man, we had one really nice lap of racing before there was some contact there. I think it was contact perhaps between the Haas and Leon. That's going to be devastating for Leon, who's raced practically 30 laps now, before including the pre-restart laps, and just got unlucky there, got squeezed. Some really neat racing there between Nick and Eddie going into that final corner, but really just not where we wanted to be. Looks like we may not actually have DRS for the rest of this race now as well, because by my calculations, I think we may get one, depending on how quick the safety car comes in, but we may get 2 laps of racing, in which case we won't get any DRS. Of course, Eddie putting Jamie under pressure, I think that may be a more psychological game than anything else, just trying to remind him he's there. Really not ideal. I think it's interesting to see what Nick decides to do, if he elects to stay on the hard tyres. Didn't hurt him this time round, he was able to keep in front of the Haas, and in fact, you know, ensure the Haas lost the position to the Williams of Jamie. Of course, this being Jamie's second race, this is going to be you know, a win for, this will be a significant improvement for him, who picked up 12 points in his debut for the last race. Presumably that would be a 4th position. I think that's a 4th position, and that's before we even consider penalties in this race as well, because we've got 3 3-second time penalties there for Eddie, Potato, and SJ. So SJ looking to benefit quite handsomely for a podium position here. Of course, the race remains quite wide open. Entirely depends how this restart goes. Hopefully we won't spend too long behind the safety car, because, you know, we've had a lot of safety car laps. I would reckon probably about a third of this race has been under safety car, at least it's felt like that. With Nick leading. Pretty impressive race by Nick. It's not been the smoothest. It looked pretty commanding by SJ, who at one point had a 10-second lead over Eddie. Nick just losing out in the earlier pit stops, but holding on those hard tyres, opting to retain track position over faster tyres. That definitely worked for him on the previous restart on the safety car. Will it work for him now? It's quite unclear. Not least because Jamie behind is on the softer tyres, which may have already started to degrade, and we know what happens when tyres start to degrade. It's harder to keep them quick. Once again, we have the question of, is the hard tyre at 8 laps old, is it actually slower anymore than the soft tyre? Sorry. Is it quicker than the soft tyre after 4 laps? Because we know the soft tyre does degrade quite quickly. Obviously, we haven't done any to practice as we see the safety car go in once again this lap. We're going to briefly ride on board with Nick, who's being pushed here by Jamie. That's a very Verstappen move. Of course, Jamie, the Dutchman he is, I believe he's Dutch, I hope I haven't got that wrong, but really pushing alongside, making sure he's reminding Nick that he's there. As we get ready to go green again, racing back underway as we go green. Big put under immediate pressure by Jamie, who's covered off by Nick, going into the first corner. And Jamie can he make the move stick? It looks like he can, as Nick has some understeer, definitely suffering as he loses a front wing end plate. Not ideal at all. Eddie putting him under pressure, as is Potato, who's on the scene as well. Eddie and Potato both having 3-second time penalties. So SJ just holding behind, letting this battle play out, keeping within touching distance. Nick not having the restart that he would have wanted, and now severely feeling that aerodynamic deficit as a result of the contact that happened before. And as Potato slides into the wall, it's a very chaotic restart. SJ claiming a place, saying, "Thank you very much, I'll take that." Moving into effective 3rd position as a result of Eddie's time penalty. The question is, can those soft tyres retain the pace advantage that they currently have? Because it's very obvious that Jamie got a pace advantage there over Nick, and he's already managed to pull out a 1.2 second 1.2 second lead as Nick is passed, or he's under a lot of pressure by the Haas of Eddie, as he was on the previous restart. Only difference, they've got someone in front of them now, as it's a real blender of cars towards the back. I'm not sure I can even keep track. And that's SJ who's taken a front wing damage. That's not ideal at all. It's too late to be pitting. We're on the penultimate lap. This is not what SJ was looking for at all. SJ's best hope, of course, now to stay in touch with those with penalties, but it doesn't look likely, because that's devastating for the Alpine team, who continue the race, but limping onwards to the finish line. Almost certainly gonna fall out of touch with those with penalties. Just gonna be slower in the corners, as there is, well, I say that, gaining a position on Mokro, who I believe has just lost their own front wing to a wall. Not ideal, as Potato makes a pass for third and then fourth place. Pretty expertly done by Potato, apologies. And is that Nick traveling slow? No, SJ actually just about keeping touch. Really, really, really fighting for that podium position, which it would be at this point still an effective second place, but they've only really got 1 second of buffer left with Nick, who fortunately does have a mostly intact front wing, putting SJ under a lot of pressure here. Not sure SJ is going to be able to do much to resist this, not least with a corner coming up, and I think anyone who's played before will know that cornering without a front wing is not exactly ideal. Very, very close between them. But Nick just about makes the move stick, moving up into effective, just about second place. DRS is enabled for the final lap. Wasn't sure we were going to get that, but, you know, great stuff. As we have Jamie leading from the front. He wasn't the expected victor of this race, but we are where we are. He's 5 seconds ahead down the road of Eddie, who's being pursued very closely by Matt in the first DRS zone. Both with 3 second time penalties though, so it looks like SJ still just about keeping touch within that 3 second range as SJ retires on the final lap without a front wing. Oh my goodness, it's been dramatic and it's been tragic for the Alpine team. Riding fourth in the constructors table, it's not clear that they're going to be able to retain that now. That's absolute heartbreak for SJ and for Leon, who've both retired after 2 safety car restarts. That's not ideal at all for the Alpine team. What's gone on here as Mokro also retires? This is a really hectic final lap of the race. Nick just holding it together, just keeping within touch of that third position. I think Eddie's just about pulled out a 4 second gap over Potato, so may just retain that second position. But Potato, sadly, with his 3 second time penalty that he picked up in one of the earlier safety car periods for corner cutting, and now being overtaken on track as there's a 3 second time penalty, so it looks like the on-track battle is going to be what's most important anyway. Jamie comes in to win. We missed it because of the drama behind. Well done to him. As we see Eddie taking second place. Oh, what a race. What a chaotic race. I think there's a lot that the stewards are going to want to have to look at. But your provisional winner, your driver of the day, as according to the game, it goes to Mokro for holding position there. For holding position or for gaining positions? Definitely gained positions. Nick gaining, I believe, 11 positions. We'll have to check for the provisional results. As from the game, everyone is really dark. Okay, well, the shading of this game, you can't see anyone. They forgot to turn the lights on. Okay. Cool. So, provisional results. We have Jamie, who started the grid, the reformed grid, from 8th position and manages to win the race unbelievably with 3 stops. Really, really benefiting from that final restart, leading from Eddie, who carried a 3-second time penalty, but just about managed to stay ahead of the McLaren of Nick, who picked up a 3-second time penalty on literally the last corner, but nonetheless managed to beat the Ferrari of Ice Mats. It was heartbreak for Mokro, who retired on the final lap. It wasn't entirely clear what happened, but the front left just went. Still points, fortunately, for the Alpine of SJ, who also retired on the final lap, but looked at one point to be in for a podium position, as was Leon.